My smart doorbell keeps alerting me to motion at 3:17 a.m. The footage is just my front porch, empty, but the alerts are getting closer to the door. I need to start by saying I don't believe in ghosts. I need to say that because if I don't, you'll think I'm the kind of person who wants this to be true. I don't. I want my house back. I want my sleep back. I want to stop checking my phone every night at 3:16 a.m. like my life depends on it. Because it might. I bought the house 6 weeks ago. It was a steal. 3-bedroom craftsman in a quiet neighborhood, big oak tree in the front yard, wraparound porch with a swing. The previous owner had died, heart attack, according to the listing agent, and the family wanted a quick sale. I didn't ask questions I should have. The first thing I did was install a Ring Video Doorbell Pro. I live alone. I travel for work. I wanted to see packages, deter porch pirates, feel like I had eyes on the place even when I was 3 states away. It worked perfectly for 11 days. Then came the first alert. Night 1, 3:17 a.m. I was awake. I'm always awake at 3:17 a.m. now, but back then I was asleep. The notification sound cut through my dream like a wire through water. Motion detected at your front door. I fumbled for my phone. The screen showed the thumbnail, my front porch bathed in the doorbell's night vision gray. Empty, just the swing, the welcome mat, the potted hydrangea I'd put by the steps. I tapped the footage, 30 seconds. The porch still, the oak tree swaying slightly in the corner of the frame, nothing else. I figured it was a moth or a spider crawling across the lens. The infrared sensors on these things are sensitive. I turned over and went back to sleep. I didn't check the timestamp. Night 2, 3:17 a.m. Same sound, same thumbnail, empty porch. This time I was annoyed. I checked the sensitivity settings in the morning. They were set to standard. The motion zone covered the porch in the first 3 steps. Nothing unusual in the event history except these 2 phantom alerts. I emailed Ring support. They sent me a template response about optimizing motion zones and avoiding reflective surfaces. I checked the porch, no reflectors, no metal decorations, just wood and brick and a plant. I went to bed early that night. Told myself I wouldn't look at my phone. At 3:17 a.m. I looked. Motion detected at your front door. I watched the live view until 4 a.m. Nothing happened. The porch stayed empty. I felt stupid, but I noticed something. The timestamp on the alert was always exactly 3:17 a.m. Not 3:16, not 3:18. Exactly 3:17 and 0 seconds. That's when I started to feel the first cold thread of something I couldn't name. Night 3 I stayed awake. I told myself it was coincidence. 2 data points don't make a pattern. At 3:16 a.m. I was sitting up in bed staring at the Ring app. The live view showed my porch quiet and grey. The swing was still. The hydrangea was still. 3:17 a.m. The app didn't notify me. I almost laughed. I'd worked myself up over nothing. I set my phone down and reached for the lamp. Then the notification came. It was delayed by 12 seconds. I know because I was watching the clock. Person detected at your front door, not motion. Person. My skin went tight. I opened the app. The footage showed the porch. Empty, but in the bottom right corner the little yellow motion box, the one that shows where the camera detected movement, was pulsing. It was on the bottom step, not the sidewalk, not the lawn, the bottom step. I watched the 30-second clip 10 times. The step was empty. The motion box stayed there throbbing yellow for the entire recording. Then it vanished. I didn't sleep that night. I sat by the window looking down at the porch until the sun came up and turned the grey world back into color. Night 4 I did research during the day. I learned that person detected means the algorithm is confident it saw human movement. Specific gait, torso shape, arm swing. It's not perfect, but it's better than a raccoon. I also learned that 3:17 a.m. is sometimes called the witching hour. Not midnight, 3 o'clock to 4 a.m., the time when the veil is thinnest, or so the internet said. I don't believe in that stuff. But I bought a trail camera anyway, a cheap one from the hardware store. No Wi-Fi, no algorithm, just infrared flash and a memory card. I mounted it on the oak tree angled at the porch. If something was triggering the Ring, the trail cam would catch it. I also put down a line of flour across the porch boards. Old trick, if something physical was walking up my steps, I'd know. At 3:17 a.m. the Ring alerted. Person detected at your front door. I was ready. I had the live view open. I was watching. At exactly 3:17 and 0 seconds the image froze, not buffered, froze. The timestamp kept counting, 3:17 and 1 second, 3:17 and 2 seconds, but the image was locked. The swing mid-sway, the hydrangea mid-tremble. Then at 3:17 and 13 seconds the image snapped back to motion. The swing had moved. The flower was undisturbed, at least from what I could see in the low-resolution night vision, but the motion box was on the welcome mat. I checked the trail cam in the morning. The memory card had 247 photos. All of them were black, not dark black, like something had covered the lens at exactly 3:17 a.m. and stayed there until dawn. I touched the trail cam. It was cold, colder than the morning air, cold enough to hurt. The flower was untouched. Night 5 I called in sick to work. I couldn't focus. I kept seeing that yellow box in my mind, pulsing closer and closer to my door. I reviewed all the footage. The first night the motion box had been at the edge of the porch near the railing. The second night the top of the steps. The third night the bottom step. The fourth night the welcome mat. It was getting closer. I measured the distances, 4 feet from the railing to the steps, 2 feet from the steps to the mat. If the pattern held tonight the motion box would be at the door itself. I told myself I was being ridiculous. I told myself to uninstall the app, take the doorbell down, sleep with earplugs. I didn't, because some part of me, a part I don't like to acknowledge, needed to know. Night 6 I prepared. I put my phone on a tripod inside the house, recording the front door. I put another phone on the porch, hidden in the hydrangea pot, recording the doorbell itself. I wanted to see if the doorbell physically moved or if something approached it. I sat in the hallway in the dark with a baseball bat across my knees. 3:16 a.m. My heart was hammering so hard I could feel it in my teeth. 3:17 a.m. The Ring notification didn't come. I almost cried with relief. I almost laughed. I stood up, my knees cracking, and walked to the front window to look out at the porch. My phone buzzed. I looked down. Person detected at your front door. The timestamp said 3:17 a.m. I hadn't heard the chime. The notification had come silently. I checked my settings. The sound was on max volume. I opened the app with shaking thumbs. The footage showed the door, not the porch. The door. The camera was mounted on the door frame, so the door itself was usually only visible as a sliver at the edge of the frame, but the motion box was centered. A yellow rectangle pulsing directly in front of the lens. Something was standing inches from my doorbell, and the footage was empty. I looked up from my phone. The front door was 3 feet from my face. I could see the brushed nickel of the deadbolt, the peephole, the shadow of the doorframe. I heard the floorboards on the porch creak. One creak, then another, the sound of weight shifting, of someone adjusting their stance. I stopped breathing. The doorbell has a two-way speaker. I pressed the button to talk. My finger hovered over it. Then the audio spiked. I wasn't recording. The app was just open, but the waveform at the bottom of the screen jumped. A sound had come through the speaker. I played it back. Once, twice, 10 times. It was breathing, not loud, not a gasp. A slow, steady exhale, then an inhale, rhythmic, patient, then a knock. 3 raps, sharp, deliberate. I scrambled backward. My heel caught the rug and I went down hard, the bat clattering against the wall. I stared at the door. The peephole was dark, no light from the porch. Something was blocking it. I didn't open the door. I should have. I should have ripped it open and swung the bat and screamed until my throat bled. But I sat there on the floor until the sun came up and the peephole light returned. When I finally looked outside, there were footprints in the dew on the porch. Bare feet, small, a woman's size maybe. They led from the steps to the door and stopped. There were no footprints leading away. The history: I found Mrs. Gable 2 houses down. She was watering her roses. She'd lived on the street for 40 years. She knew everything. When I mentioned my address, her watering can stopped mid-pour. "You're the new one," she said. I nodded. She looked at my house, at the porch, at the swing. "You need to be careful," she said. I asked her what she meant. She told me about Sarah Chen. Sarah had bought the house 3 years ago, a nurse, quiet, kept to herself. She'd installed a security system after a break-in at the neighbor's place. Always cautious. 3 years ago, on March 17th, Sarah came home from her shift at 2:45 a.m. She parked in the driveway. She walked to the porch. Someone was waiting. They strangled her on the welcome mat. The police said she fought. She scratched the door. Her fingernails left marks in the wood that were still there, buried under 3 coats of paint. She banged on the door, screamed, but the house was empty. She lived alone. No one came. She died at 3:17 a.m. The killer was never found. Mrs. Gable looked at me with eyes that were too bright. She used to sit on that swing in the evenings, Mrs. Gable said, reading. She loved that porch. I asked if Sarah had a doorbell camera. Mrs. Gable nodded. The police took it. Evidence. I don't know if it helped. I went home. I looked at the door, at the faint scratches under the paint. I touched them. I understood something then. The ring I'd installed wasn't new. It was the same model, same position. I'd bought it from the previous owner's estate sale, bundled with a box of tools in the garage. I'd mounted it in the exact same spot. I'd reopened the circuit. Night 7, I didn't want to be in the house, but I couldn't leave. Some part of me was anchored there now. Some part needed to see this through. I set up a baby monitor on the porch. An old audio-only one from my sister's attic. I put the receiver on my kitchen table. I turned the volume to maximum. I sat in the dark again. No bat this time. What was the point? 3:17 a.m. The ring alerted. Person detected. The motion box filled the entire screen. Whatever was out there was directly in front of the camera, close enough to touch it. Then the baby monitor crackled, static, then a voice. "Let me in." It was a whisper, but it was clear. Feminine, tired, then again, "Let me in." Then a sound I will never forget. Knuckles against wood 3 times, the same rhythm as the night before, but the ring footage showed the door. Empty, no hand, no knuckles. Just the yellow box throbbing, filling the lens. I pressed the 2-way talk button on the ring. "Sarah," I said. The breathing stopped. For 10 seconds, nothing. Then the baby monitor screamed, not a voice. A feedback whined so loud and so high that I clamped my hands over my ears. The windows rattled. The hydrangea pot on the porch shattered. I heard it through the monitor, through the walls, through the floor. Then silence, absolute silence. I looked at my phone. The live view showed the porch, empty. The motion box was gone, but the door was open. I hadn't opened it. I know I hadn't. I'd been sitting 20 feet away, hands over my ears, staring at the kitchen table. The door was open 6 inches, and the flower I'd put down the previous morning, flower that had been untouched for days, was disturbed. There were footprints in it. They led from the porch through the open door into my hallway, small, bare. A woman's, and they were wet, not with water, with something darker. I followed them. I know how stupid that sounds. I know every horror movie ever made tells you not to follow the blood. But I wasn't thinking about movies. I was thinking about Sarah Chen dying on her porch, screaming for help, scratching at a door that never opened. I really believed that she was trying to come home. The footprints led down the hallway, past the bathroom. Past the guest room to my bedroom door. It was closed. I reached for the handle. My fingers touched the metal. It was freezing, burning cold, the kind of cold that sticks to your skin. I turned the handle. The door swung inward. My bedroom was empty. The bed was made. The window was shut. The closet door was closed. But the air smelled like copper, like a penny sucked until it tastes of blood. And on my pillow there was an indentation, the shape of a head, small. A woman's. The footprints ended at the side of the bed. I backed out. I closed the door. I put a chair under the handle. I walked out of the house, didn't run, my legs wouldn't let me run, and I sat in my car until the sun came up. When I went back inside, the pillow was flat, the footprints were gone, the front door was locked, but the Ring app had a new notification, 3:17 a.m. Person detected at your front door. I hadn't watched it live. I'd been in the bedroom. I played the footage. The porch empty. The motion box was at the door. Then the door opened from the inside. A hand reached out, pale, thin. The nails were cracked and dark with dried blood. The hand pushed the door wider. Then the footage ended. There was no footage of the door closing. Night 8, I called the police. They came. They were kind. They checked the house. They found nothing. No blood, no footprints. No broken pottery on the porch. The hydrangea pot was intact, the plant healthy. They suggested I see someone. Stress of a new home. Grief over the previous owner's death may be manifesting as anxiety. They gave me a card for a counselor. I almost believed them. Then the officer at the door paused. He was young, maybe 25. Did you know the previous owner? He asked. I said no. He looked at the porch, at the swing. My mom knew Sarah, he said quietly. She was a good person. He left. I sat on the porch swing that evening. I watched the sun go down. I thought about leaving, about selling, about running. But where would I go? This thing knew me now. It knew my door, my doorbell, my name. At 3:16 a.m. I was on the swing, outside. I'd brought a blanket. I'd brought my phone. I'd brought a knife I'd never used. I was going to face it. I was going to open the door for her. 3:17 a.m. The ring on my phone buzzed. Person detected. I looked at the porch steps. The motion box on the app was at the bottom step, but I saw something the camera didn't. The air was wrong. It was thicker, like looking through old glass. And in that thickness a shape was forming. Not solid, not ghostly, something in between, like heat rising from summer asphalt, but cold, so cold it was small. A woman. She wore something white, a nightgown maybe, or a uniform. Her hair was dark and matted on one side. She was walking up the steps. One step, pause. The motion box moved to the next step. Another step, pause. She was looking at the door, at me, but I couldn't see her eyes. Where her face should have been, there was just the distortion, the warp. She reached the welcome mat. The motion box centered on the door. I stood up. My knees shook. The knife felt ridiculous in my hand. Sarah, I said. The distortion turned toward me. I expected her to speak, to explain, to ask for help or forgiveness or peace. Instead, she tilted her head. And she smiled. I know she smiled because the distortion shifted. The warp bent upward at the edges. And from the doorbell speaker, from the little speaker mounted 3 feet from my face, came a sound. Not a voice, a giggle, high, wet, hungry. This wasn't Sarah. Sarah had died here. Sarah had screamed and scratched and begged. This was what killed her. I understood too late. The doorbell wasn't recording a victim trying to get in. It was recording a predator coming back to the scene. Every night at 3:17 a.m. it returned. It walked the path it had walked 3 years ago. It stood at the door where it had stood over her body. It breathed the air she had stopped breathing. And I had invited it. I had said its name. I had opened the door in my mind before I ever touched the handle. I ran, not into the house, away from it, down the driveway, into the street. I didn't look back until I was 3 houses down under street lamp, gasping, the knife still clutched in my fist like a talisman. I looked back. The porch was empty, but the swing was moving, not with the wind. The night was still. The oak tree was motionless. The swing moved back and forth, slow, deliberate, like someone was sitting in it waiting for me to come back. Night 9, I didn't go back. I stayed in a motel, room 317. I didn't notice until I opened the door. I asked for a different room. The clerk looked at me like I was crazy. I deleted the Ring app. I threw the phone in a drawer and bought a cheap burner. For 3 days nothing happened. I started to breathe again. I called a realtor. I was going to sell, take the loss, never go back. Then my sister called. You need to check your email, she said. I had her log into my account. I'd given her the password years ago for emergencies. She forwarded me a video file. The subject line was from Ring. Motion event, front door. 3:17 a.m. I told her not to open it. She already had. It's just your porch, she said. Empty, but what? The motion box, it's not on the porch anymore. I felt the blood leave my face. It's at your car, she said. In the driveway, like something is looking in the window. I was in the motel parking lot. I looked at my car. The windows were dark, empty. I told her to send me the file. I watched it in the motel bathroom, sitting on the closed toilet, the door locked, the lights on. The footage showed my driveway, empty, my car silver in the night vision sitting under the street lamp. The motion box was on the driver's side window, pulsing. Then in the last frame the car's interior light flicked on just for a second, and in the driver's seat there was an indentation, the shape of a small person. Then the light went out. Tonight I'm writing this from the motel. It's 2:45 a.m. I have 3 tabs open on my laptop, this post, my email, and the Ring web portal which I logged into using the burner phone's hotspot. The camera shows my old porch. The new owners moved in yesterday, a young couple. They put up wind chimes. They look happy. I should warn them, but I'm terrified that if I do it will know I'm still watching. It's 3:12 a.m. I can't stop refreshing. 3:14 a.m. The porch is still. The wind chimes are motionless. 3:16 a.m. My hands are shaking so hard I can barely type. 3:17 a.m. the notification came. Not on the Ring portal on my laptop, a system notification from an app I didn't install. Person detected, I clicked it, it opened my webcam, not the porch camera, my webcam, the one built into this motel laptop. The feed showed me. Hunched over, pale, unshaven, terrified. But behind me, reflected in the dark window of the motel room, there was a shape, small, white, standing between the bed and the door. I spun around, the room was empty. But the door to the bathroom I'd left with the light on, was now dark. And from the crack beneath it, a line of flour was spreading. I didn't put flour down, I don't own flour, but it's here, it's tracking me. It's walking the path step by step, night by night, getting closer. The motion box on my webcam feed is pulsing. It's at the foot of the bed now. I can hear the breathing through the laptop speakers. Slow, steady, patient. It's not at the door anymore, it's inside. And it's getting closer. If you're reading this, check your doorbell, check your timestamps. If you get an alert at 3:17 a.m. and the footage is empty, don't open the door, don't say its name. And whatever you do, don't let it in. It's 3:21 a.m. now. The motion box just filled the entire screen. I can smell copper. I can hear update. This post was automatically saved as a draft at 3:22 a.m. The user has been inactive for 48 hours. If anyone knows op, please contact authorities. The motel he mentioned has no record of a guest matching his description on the night of the post. However, the new owners of his former residence report that their Ring doorbell has begun alerting them to motion at exactly 3:17 a.m. The footage shows an empty porch, but the motion box is at the bottom of the steps. Getting closer.